What is up, everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Star Wars figure unboxing and review. We are doing a Star Wars figure, guys, for the second consecutive video, and today we are featuring a very unique release. We are doing Obi-Wan Kenobi with his Mandalorian armor from the Clone Wars. If I'm not mistaken, this armor was used specifically in season 4. Can't remember what episode, right? But pretty much Obi-Wan goes in disguise to try to rescue Satine, right, from Darth Maul's army, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so basically he goes in this disguise, and Hot Toys has decided to do this very unique release for the guy. Very excited to go ahead and unbox the guy, because number one, this is actually my first ever Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, so very interesting way to start off my Obi-Wan collection, guys. I did get him off of Sideshow Collectibles. As you guys can see, the Sideshow exclusive logo at the top right, so I am not sure if there is any available anymore, since this is an exclusive release, but still in all, again, very excited to go ahead and get this guy unboxed. So let's get started. Okay, so as always, guys, let's start with the design of the box. So we pretty much get the same regular design with Star Wars figures. We get a black box featuring the image of the figure right there with the Mandalorian helmet. We do get at the top right a Sideshow exclusive logo. We get the Star Wars logo in the middle as always. And then this time, unlike Mace Windows unboxing, which we did last time, we do get a banner finally with the figure. So we get a really nice blue and yellow coloring with this banner that matches very well with the box. So I think it looks absolutely amazing. Of course, an image of Obi-Wan right there with the face sculpt, not the helmet. On the right side, we continue with that banner with the blue and yellow colors. We get pretty much the name of the figure and a black background at the box. On the back, pretty much regular stuff, legal information from Hot Toys, the name of the figure, and a black background. And at the right, we get pretty much now the banner, but with an image of the figure with his helmet on. We get this time a Disney logo and an Obi-Wan name, pretty much logo at the bottom, along with the black background, as I mentioned before. So not a lot of detailing with this box, but I do like how the banner matches with the figure at the bottom, and at the top, as always, guys, the Star Wars logo in that black background. So I would say, again, unfortunately, this is what we have to resort to with these backgrounds from Star Wars, but it does look better than most, so off to a great start for sure. Now with the second box, so we get this kind of wallpaper kind of banner at the top of the figure. So it has different images of the figure itself, along with a Star Wars and Obi-Wan Kenobi logo at the bottom. Now, interesting thing about this banner, and I want to make sure I'm clear about this. I'm not saying I know this for a fact. I just heard this from Justin's collection, who is such a great collector. But according to him, the images at the top of the figure were actually copied from Hot Toys from another collector, which is, I think, really interesting and kind of sad, if I can be honest, right? Again, so all credits to Justin's collection for that comment, right? I did not come up with it. Whenever I saw his unboxing for this figure specifically, he mentioned this, so I thought that was very interesting, right? So I want to make sure I'm clear by saying this. I don't know this for a fact. I'm going based on what he says, and he is an expert when it comes to, he is to me the expert when it comes to collecting and unboxing, so I would assume that it's pretty much a fact. So now we got the figure right here with all of the accessories, so let's go ahead and get it unboxed for the first time. Again, very intrigued to see what we get with the guy. So first thoughts, honestly, he's lighter than I expected. I thought with all the armor he would be pretty heavy, but he is pretty light, so not disappointed by it. Again, to me, what matters is the looks, but he is pretty light to start off. Obviously, we get the helmeted version with the original look, and then the Obi-Wan head sculpt will come later, which I'm okay with, because obviously this is supposed to be a disguise suit. But I would say off to a good start. Again, I don't find any big flaws on it so far. I think it looks pretty nice, and we'll talk about the figure obviously more in detail a little bit later on. So pretty much that's it for the unboxing as far as my first thoughts. After this, we'll review the accessories, we'll do a couple of side-by-side comparisons, we'll review the figure in detail, and of course at the end we'll do poses and final thoughts. Okay, guys, with the accessories, so actually for a figure that was just pretty much not that expensive, I thought we got some really nice accessories to come along with the guy. So obviously, to me, the big disappointment about this figure is the display base. The display base has no absolute detail whatsoever. So let's go ahead and take a look at the display base. So as you guys can see, we just get pretty much the regular Star Wars flooring, right? By the way, my apologies about that blurriness with the camera. We just get the regular flooring. It does seem to be a little bit of a different color, kind of more like a light brownish type of gray, not necessarily light gray. We do get a Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi nameplate at the bottom in the regular Star Wars font, and then we do get a regular crotch grabber, which I am not upset about. But the thing is that this figure is supposed to have a jetpack to fly, so I wish they would have possibly include a waist clamp with a flight pole to make the figure possibly post flying. But sadly, we only get a crotch grabber, which is becoming something very usual with Hot Toys figures. We do get two face scopes, so we get obviously the original helmet. The helmet is pretty much to disguise him, and the coloring is pretty much red and kind of dark gray, and then the part where his eyes and his nose goes is kind of a little bit lighter, so we'll touch on that helmet a little bit later on when we discuss the figure. And then of course we do get an Obi-Wan recyclable head sculpt. So this is originally from his original figure from the Clone Wars rights, which unfortunately I still have not received yet. I'll talk more in detail about this head sculpt again once we are actually talking about the figure, but do know that it does come with rotating knives, so that is a good thing for sure. And by the way, apologies, the head sculpt just fell on the side. It does come with this jetpack that thankfully goes attached onto the figure via magnet. So to me, that is a great thing, because I feel like it's kind of harder for it to fall off, and I just feel it attaches better. So no issues with the jetpack whatsoever. It does come with two pretty much pistols, guns, whatever you guys want to call it. I would say each for one hand. The regular, design of it, plastic, right? Kind of a little bit type of dark grayish kind of coloring, right? I would say no issues with it whatsoever, right? It does have a hole on each gun, so that way the finger of Obi-Wan goes installed in it. So I would say pretty much something basic stuff for those accessories. And then we do come with 6 different display of hands. So these are the ones that come with the figure attached. So pretty much closed fist, obviously with gloves / armor of the figure. My disappointment about these display of hands, and I'm basically comparing it to other glove hands that I've seen from other figures, is that there are no stretch marks to show like any type of motion with the figure, right? So for example, looking at these right here, so these are supposed to pretty much hold on to that grapple gun or pistol, and there's no type of motion lines on the palm, right? So I don't want to say that's a big complaint, but I just wish they would have done that just to kind of show more authenticity when it comes to the figure. But these display hands are colored black because of the gloves, obviously, of the armor, and just know that they are to hold the pistols. You guys might be able to try the lightsaber, but I don't think it would be a good look, in my personal opinion. The other two pretty much hands that we get are, and excuse me for that, I'm here getting the hands to fall out, my apologies. So the other two hands, pretty much the one on the left is the one to hold on to the lightsaber, and we'll see how it looks a little bit later on. And then this one right here, I would say it could be used for different purposes, maybe for it to hold on to his belt, to possibly, I would pretty much say that's probably the only purpose, or just to kind of have it standing in the air, just to show different poses, right? But I really don't find like a specific use for that hand, right? And then let's get to the interesting part of the figure for me, which is the lightsaber. So obviously with previous lightsabers with that USB cable, I've had a lot of complaints with Hot Toys. I don't think I've seen one that's been great. Probably the best one was the Vader from Kenobi. I thought that was a decent look, but the other ones, the light up has not been good at all. So obviously we get a regular lightsaber with no cable, just to kind of show the figure posing without any type of cables going around. And of course we get the other one with that USB cable that goes connected to a kind of little light box that will be connected to the back. We do get to the two regular lightsaber poses, one with the normal pose, another one showing the motion. Nothing has really changed so far. And of course regular color blue for his lightsaber. And this is the box that I was talking about, the light box that is pretty much supposed to go connected on the back of the figure. Once again, Hot Toys has decided not to include a USB cable, so I feel like there's been about 6 5 to 10 figures that have been released by Hot Toys, and they have not included in USB cable, so that to me is a disappointment. So I do want to go ahead and get the lightsaber part of the light up, out of the way. So let me go ahead and install the cable. We do only get 2 holes to go ahead and connect that cable that comes with the lightsaber. Of course, just bear with me while I go ahead and get that connected. I'll try to be as fast as I possibly can to not waste too much time on the video. So right there, it is connected, and again, we have the light up box. So let's go ahead and turn it on. So turning it on, yeah, let me go ahead and turn off the light so that way you guys could possibly see better. Sadly, my camera won't show it really well, but to me, honestly, it's actually not that bad. I think it's a good light up. I would say decent, but it's not great. I still think it could be better, and again, my camera won't show it that well, right, because of my lighting, and obviously it's not the greatest quality. But in person, looking at this, I think it's a decent light up, but I can't go great, right? I still think that there's better. They could definitely do better, right? So pretty much that would be it for all of the accessories. I really can't find any too many big flaws on it, other than the hands and probably the lightsaber. But other than that, I would say off to a good start. Nothing too impressive, but I would say again, nothing too bad either. Okay, with the figure, guys, so pretty much as I mentioned before, this is a pretty light figure. Honestly, I thought he would be a little bit heavier than expected, but I'm okay with it. Again, to me, what matters is the look, right? I have connected the jetpack on it just so that way you guys can get a better look at the figure. So starting off with the helmet, right? Now, I want to apologize, right? It's been a while since I've seen the episode of the Clone Wars, right? And I didn't want to watch it again, so that way I can get actual, natural, like a natural kind of reaction to the figure, right? So the paint applications are not great, and I think it's supposed to be meant that way because obviously, with these troopers / Mandalorian soldiers, right, with all the fighting that they got going on, right, there's obviously going to be some scratch marks and things like that. So I think the armor is meant to be kind of not painted well, right? We see some scratch marks, and the gray and red coloring is kind of all over the place with the armor. It's pretty much made out of plastic, and it's just connected onto the figure, and then the rest of the suit is pretty much made out of, I would say, kind of a fabric. So the whole bodysuit is colored gray, but he does kind of have like a undershirt underneath the armor, kind of in a color black, to pretty much be able to attach that armor. I think it looks pretty good, right? Again, no complaints at all, right? Maybe you guys can think of better ways that they could have done the armor. The belt sadly is made out of pleather, right? But I don't have any issues with it. To me, the pleather issues whenever it comes to posing a figure, right? Because again, it gets damaged over time, and sadly, we have to end up replacing the figure, right? But as far as the belt, I really don't find any issues with it. As far as the back side, again, as I mentioned before, right, the pants, everything else, the bodysuit underneath that armor is kind of made out of fabric, right? And again, the paint applications are supposed to be made out to be dirty, right? The armor at the bottom, we get some kind of knee braces, some armor on his legs on the sides, some leg braces as well at the bottom, right? And also his boots. The material on this part of the pants is kind of confusing to me. So it feels like pleather, but I feel like it's too soft to be pleather, right? But I'm disappointed. I wish they would have just included the whole plastic kind of, pretty much plastic material with the whole boot instead of just dividing it. So that to me, I wouldn't say it's a big disappointment, but I feel like that could have at least been changed to make the figure a little bit better, right? But other than that, I think the figure looks good. Again, nothing too impressive, but again, I like the armor. I like the look of it. I think it's a very interesting look, and I'm glad we got the figure. I think it's a very unique style for the figure. Again, a 1-episode thing, so it looks pretty good to me, right? So now that we have the figure, let's go ahead and take a look at Mr. Obi-Wan himself. So now, before I do install the Obi-Wan head sculpt onto the figure, so I did want to show you guys how the rotating eyes works. So thankfully, because there is a division between a seam line between the neck and the whole body itself, it's an easier task to go ahead and move the rotating eye, so we don't have to split the hair in half, or we don't have to remove a certain part of the neck area or anything. Pretty much, it's pretty easy to go ahead and get the head sculpt to change those rotating eyes. So I have connected the head sculpt onto the Mandalorian armor. Honestly, this is not even close to me. This is by far the better look on the figure. So I did want to quickly talk about that Obi-Wan head sculpt, which is a recyclable head sculpt, right, from that regular Clone Wars version, which I have no issues with because we're talking about the same character from the same series, and it's supposed to be a cartoon, right? So they kind of pretty much have recreated this head sculpt to look like Ewan McGregor, right, from the Clone Wars. To me, it looks like Ewan McGregor from every single angle. I love the skin texture. The hairpiece is great. The beard, good. My only kind of, I wouldn't say an issue, but I guess question is that facial expression that they have decided to use for the figure. It's kind of interesting to me, right? It looks a little bit weird, right? But I've heard a lot of people say this is supposed to be a natural look for Obi-Wan, so I guess, right? But I just would have preferred something else, right, for the facial expression. But other than that, everything looks really, really good about that head sculpt. I can't tell you guys how great that looks. Let's go ahead and take off the jetpack because I do want to go over articulation. So the legs itself, they do stretch to the side all the way till there, right? So not a lot, but I think good enough to pose the figure. The knees do go all the way to the back until there, so that's better than most. And then to the front, it's supposed to go all the way till there. That piece of armor on the left side does kind of limit it a little bit. The legs themselves, right, or his feet pretty much go all the way down there and then up all the way there. So not a lot of motion with that, but again, I'm okay with it because these are supposed to be boots, so I understand the lack of motion. And then the knee does go all the way to the top till there. The body itself in the middle, it only goes up to the front up there and to the back there, so not a lot of motion with that, which I'm okay with. Now the part that does bother me is sadly the arms, and I rarely have an issue with articulations with the arms, but it only goes all the way up till there. There seems to be like a limit, and maybe I could be possibly able to stretch it more. And then again, it just goes to the front there, but I really don't want to break the figure in any way. So just know that sadly articulations with the arms, which to me is the most important part when it comes to posing a figure, they're not great. This is a very limited figure, and I am gonna have a hard time posing him. We'll see a little bit later on how that goes, but yeah, sadly it only goes to the top until there, so that's an issue to me. Now the head sculpt does rotate pretty much nicely, so we're able to pose it anyway, so to me that's a good thing. So I would say the figure looks good. Again, as I mentioned before, not a lot of issues. I think the articulations is an issue, right, but other than that, I think the look of it looks great. The Kenobi face sculpt is absolutely amazing, so I would say a really good figure, but not great, and I'll touch more on that a little bit later on. Okay, now a couple of side-by-side comparisons. So again, still having a lack of figures with Star Wars. I still don't have the greatest kind of side-by-side comparisons list that I could possibly have. Obi-Wan Kenobi is not only my first, Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, right, from with his Mandalorian armor, but this is also my first ever Clone Wars figure, right? So bear with me, guys. I have other figures coming from the Clone Wars, so I'll try to get this collection as good as I possibly can, right? But for now, we have with Commander Cody in his Chrome version, which I just unboxed a couple of weeks ago. I did want to compare them because these are technically both, stormtroopers, right, Mandalorian soldiers, things like that. So I think the look to both of them is pretty nicely, although Obi-Wan's armor does seem to be thicker, right? Obviously Obi-Wan is the better figure because of that Kenobi head sculpt, right? But what I did find interesting is the fabric of, well, not the fabric, but the way that the armor was made. With Obi-Wan, you can tell it's strictly plastic. With Commander Cody, it does feel like chrome, right? So I'm glad that they did that for the figure because it does give it more authenticity, right? The height of the figures pretty much is the same, right? And I really have no issues with it whatsoever. All that I can say is pretty much I'm happy to have both of these figures in my collection. And then the next figure I wanted to do was with Mace Windu. Mace Windu obviously being a Jedi partner of Kenobi, right? And also Obi-Wan, Mace Windu does have some Clone Wars armor, right? So I guess why not? Let's go ahead and do a comparison between these two. So I'll probably have these two posed side by side since they are from the same kind of era, I guess, right? Obviously one from Attack of the Clones, the other one from Clone Wars. So still amazes me how tall Mace Windu is compared to all of the other figures. I think only Vader is taller than Windu, but Kenobi is almost at his height, but just a tad bit shorter, right? Both figures, again, as I mentioned before, happy to have them, although I do think Kenobi has the better head sculpt compared to Mace Windu, but I do think Mace Windu might be the better figure overall, right? So let me know, guys, in the comments what you guys think about these figures, specifically the comparison between them. And by the way, just kind of as a quick thought, so happy that I am growing on this Star Star Wars collection, right? I remember at the beginning of the channel, you know, when I started this, I was barely doing any Star Wars content. Now I'm getting to do these back-to-back unboxings, so can't wait to see how much we're gonna grow this collection. It's growing slowly but surely. I can't wait to see until I do a collection tour so that you guys can see the differences between my first tour and the second one. Okay guys, finishing up on Obi-Wan Kenobi Mandalorian armor from the Clone Wars. So to me, this is a good figure. I really like a lot of things about it. I like the whole, you know, setup of the figure, right? The way that it looks. I like the Kenobi head sculpt. I like, I guess the posing options that I get with the guy. And also, again, as I mentioned whenever I was doing the comparison with Mace, the fact that I'm growing this Star Wars collection, right? Slowly but surely, we've grown our figures, right? And I can't wait to show you guys in my next collection tour how many figures we've gotten compared to my first tour that I did at the beginning of the year. But the figure itself, I think it's a good figure. It's not great, as I mentioned before. My complaint would be the articulations with the figure. It was very hard to pose them in certain ways, and I was a little bit limited. I wish I would have posed them even differently, but because of that lack of accessories and also us not having an actual flight pole, it does limit me when it comes to poses. Now this figure, guys, I hope you guys don't get offended with what I'm about to say, but I would call it a recyclable figure, which is something that I said with the Joker with his Dark Knight armor, right? Or I'm sorry, Joker in the Dark Knight suit, right? In the Batman suit that we just got a couple of weeks ago. Pretty much the Mandalorian armor, I would assume it's from a previous figure, and obviously that Kenobi head sculpt is from the from his regular Clone Wars figure. So honestly, I can't even hit on this. To me, it's a good business decision by Hot Toys, because obviously we get to get this interesting look for Kenobi, and to me, if you're a big Clone Wars fan, why not get the guy? Again, to me, it's a very unique look to him, right? And I do like how it looks, right? So very glad to have him in the collection, and I can't wait to get other Obi-Wan figures like the one from the Clone Wars and the one from his personal series that for some reason we still cannot get. My god, how long has it been since the other figures from that Kenobi series has been released and we still can't get Obi-Wan announced? But overall, again, as I mentioned before, like the figure, like what it has, right? So very happy to have him. Please let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think about this figure and overall thoughts on him. If you guys do want to pick him up, unfortunately there's a wait list, and I do believe this was an exclusive figure, so for now I unfortunately well, actually, you know what, no, I'm sorry, no, I'll include the link, right, just so that way you guys can join the wait list if you're interested in grabbing him. So for now, guys, this is going to be it for the video. Thank you as always for watching my videos and for supporting. If it is the first time that you're watching me, please hit that subscribe button and also the notifications bell, so that way you're always you know, aware of when I'm dropping these videos. So thank you so much for tuning in again to this Obi-Wan unboxing and review, and I will see you next time.